I'm done with Google. Bye, PewDiePie.
Maybe you're wondering, why is he wearing that cool hat? It's because the tech overlords are listening. Now I can finally say, Google schmoogle. What are you gonna do, Google? You're completely powerless now. What's that? Google owns YouTube?
My God.
I would Google that, but I literally can't. What are they gonna do? Censor this video? Demonetize it? Bury it under the algorithm so nobody can find it? You're completely powerless, Google. You got nothing on me.
The irony that the first comment literally under this video was he said that this video is going to get buried in the algorithm, and it's the first PewDiePie video I've seen in a while. Bro, I forgot PewDiePie exists. Just not this YouTube circle that I follow. The actual first PewDiePie video I've been recommended in literal years.
So the past couple of weeks, I've completely de-Googled. I don't use any of Google's so-called free services.
Okay.
Except YouTube. I literally can't escape. It's surprisingly hot to wear a tinfoil hat. I don't know if you guys knew this.
Makes sense.
Well, you never worn a tinfoil hat before? No, this all started because of privacy concerns. Being tracked with it, literally everything I do just feels kind of odd. Mainly because I wanted to also regain control over my software. And not to be at mercy of what the tech overlords decide to do just one day. But most importantly, I don't want to pay $20 a year for 100 gigabyte storage. Not happening.
Yeah.
I realized since swapping to Linux, my life has just been going upwards. I'm practically ascending next step. But I realized there's always an open source alternative, and a lot of times they're better. They just don't have $1 billion budget to market themselves. So I went down the de-Google rabbit hole, and I want to share what I learned, because by the end of this, once you know what I know, bro, you're gonna want one of these cool hats as well. So let's go through the de-Googleization. I want to be honest and share what I think you should absolutely change, and maybe what was more hassle than worth. Number 1, your search engine. Change your search engine right now.
I already do. I already use Firefox.
You can do it now while I keep yapping. Just go to your browser settings, find the search default browser, and change it to DuckDuckGo. It's a search engine that doesn't track what you do. It just works. Boom. Maybe you prefer everything you do online to be tracked and logged. I don't know. Maybe you're in that ballpark. I think just most people are either oblivious or lazy. So I'm telling you now, don't be lazy. Number 2, your browser. When I told you to change your default search engine, you did not just do that inside of Google Chrome, did you? Say it ain't so. There are way better browsers out there. I use Firefox. It's kind of B tier, but you can lock it down into S tier. A lot of people swear by Brave browser. I never tried it. My point is, this is super easy to change. And have you ever thought why browsers are free to begin with? Why is Microsoft why do they want you to use their browser so goddamn badly, you know? Why do they all make it free for you? Could it be?
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not paying for a product, you are the product, right? As the fat electrician says, 100%. Which stresses me out because I complain about constantly, they have all this information, yet they still can't market a single thing to me. Like, sure, maybe sometimes there'll be a thing where I'm going, okay, cool, that's kind of interesting. But none of the advertisements are literally relevant to me. And that's the problem.
Because they track everything you do online and sell or trade your data? What? What do you mean? They don't make this out of the goodness in their heart? You telling me Google isn't just $1 trillion charity? What? I found online that in 2023, Google paid Apple to be their default search browser in Safari. Guess how much? 20 billion. Jesus Christ. They definitely want you to use Google. So just don't. It will take you 2 minutes. Go do it. Number 3, the third thing I changed. Like many of you, I've been using Google Mail for years and years and years. And apparently up until 2017, that's when they stopped scanning your emails to serve you ads. Weird. So now Gmail is a little less creepy, you know? But if you think about it, it is probably the most invasive service that they run. And there are free alternatives out there like Proton. I haven't tried it out. I decided to send this and get my own email. I paid a small fee. It was fiddly as hell. But at least people won't think I'm poor and have like Google schmoogle in my ad domain. Number 4, with me de-Googling lately, I realize it's time for me to de something else. I don't want to say the joke. Anyway, I started working with G Fuel 6 years ago. G Fuel sponsor! We created the greatest flavor of all time, G Fuel Lingonberry.
Lingonberry is out and it's really, really good. Honestly, I'm so proud of this flavor.
Yuzu slash legendary moment. You
baby.
Sour green PewDiePie. So many great memories. So many great slurps. So many great memes. But it's finally time to retire this guy. Sayonara, Jifu-san.
Okay.
Because we're introducing a new tub!
Good stuff. I like the art.
And t-shirt! Same energy, new armor. Get the collector's box. You get the t-shirt and the new tub. You don't want to be tubless this summer, I'll tell you that much. That's worse than having Google in your subdomain. It's available right now. Check it out, link in the description. Finally. Don't miss this opportunity to be part of history. We got many more exciting G Fuel announcement coming up, so stay tuned. Number 5.
So this is a hard one for me to rate. I don't know. There's internet discourse surrounding PewDiePie. I don't remember enough about it. I don't know the validity of it. That's not factoring into this. Going into this blind as probably the only PewDiePie video I've ever watched, honestly. I would give this between, it's 7 or an 8. I thought the transition was cheeky. It was pretty quick. It was I'd say it was good. It was leaning on good. A little cheeky, a little interesting. I'll give it that. Trying to figure out where the ad read was. I mean, it was about, I'd say about a minute and a half, roughly, somewhere in there, right? Which is fine, minute and a half-ish. Personally, I'm more partial to 60 seconds. This also doesn't seem like it's an audio-treated space. The audio was flush. It was consistent with the rest of the video, but you are hearing the echo in the room. You are hearing that this isn't an audio-treated space. Not dissimilar to my current situation, but I digress. I mean, ultimately for the piece, how he's talked so far, the ad read does fit the style. Product relevant, PewDiePie gaming, I mean, synonymous in certain aspects from what I understand. I'm going to give it a 7. I think the audio issues and some of the peaks and echo detracted. I still think it was good, because 5 is like, mid, right? It's still good. I don't think it's great, though.
Phone! I have a Google phone. God damn it!
Nice.
Everything is Google! It's crazy. I didn't realize just how deep I've been swept into this ecosystem without realizing it. My goddamn TV is Google. I thought it was a Sony TV. You know, open up, it's like, Google TV.
Wild.
How did that happen? I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm supposed to be enamored by the phone, how amazing it is with its incredible hardware, and how powerful it is. But if it's so great, then why do I feel like I'm the product? Huh?
You are
I
the
hate my
product.
phone. Notifications just feel like they're there to suck me in, not to tell me anything useful. All these apps and features. I feel like my attention span is just getting mushed the more I use my phone. I hate it. It's just one big giant distraction device. So I have a Pixel 9, and it is a good phone. And I already own it. So instead of switching it out to like a dumb phone or something like that I know a lot of people do, I want to install a custom OS on it. There was a lot of them to choose from, but I opted for Graphene. Mainly because it felt like the biggest point the finger to Google, you know? It's an operating system focused on privacy and security. Apparently so much so that even Edward Cullen uses it. Did I get that right? I would Google it, but I can't. But here's the thing, okay? For some reason, I feel like I'm the crazy one. Huh? What? Why do you want to Google so bad, huh? What do you got to hide, huh? This guy got...
I think that becomes a interesting line of questioning, because people will ask that. Well, what do you have to hide, right? And we don't not only see it with things like this, but we also see it in many other spheres altogether. Is that because something is so normalized, any attempt to deviate from that norm is met with ridicule, is met with suspicion. You are now the other, right? Little cultish, right? Little bit. Make sure you isolate from other people, isolate from other sources, make sure you isolate from other products, make sure the dependency is on the product. There is only the end-all be-all product, and any attempt to deviate from said product is blasphemous, heretical even. Just interesting parallel there. Oh, people operate in strange ways.
Graphene on his phone, what's up with that? I feel a little judged, okay? But after using graphene, I realize, no, this is how it should be. I'm not the crazy one. There's a few features on graphene that I really like, and these are just to name a few. Especially with security, I really like how they amped it up, but the fact that I close an app on graphene and it closes the app. Crazy. A lot of times on your phone, if you think you've closed an app, but in reality, running in the background and still tracking whatever it is they want to, Graphene, nuke that shit. It's gone. Such a crazy concept, right? I'm the crazy one. Number 2, I control exactly what the app has access to. You can use file or storage scopes, I think it's called. And if I want to give an app access to a certain type of files, I pick which folder. Not the entire device, as it should be.
Yeah, that feels like a miss for most modern devices where it's just a blanket, just like, that's so strange to me.
Not some vague little pop-up going like, hey, do you want to give them access to this? No, complete control. Number 3, whenever you install an app on Graphene, it asks you before installing it, hey, do you want to give this app access to your internet? Because a lot of times the answer is, heck no, not happening. I realized I was trying desperately to find a keyboard that has Japanese, Swedish, and English. I really like the Swift kind of typing, you know? I just couldn't find an open source alternative, and I was like, what do I do? And then I realized the alternative is Microsoft or Google, okay?
Right.
And I realized the keyboard that they offer is connected to the internet. Why?
Interesting.
Why? Imagine you bought a physical keyboard and it was secretly connected to the internet, sending big tech everything you type. We're not doing anything weird, just trust us, bro. It's so messed up. On Graphene, I still have the option, and if I want to take a Google app, I can starve it, put it in one of those. I still don't like that I use a Google app, but no, actually it's good. Google is at my mercy for once. Feels good. Another feature that I think is kind of obvious and most people would appreciate, but there was a 4th hidden feature on Graphene that I love. That it is not a feature, but for me it ended up being one. Like I talked about in the beginning, it feels a lot of times when I use a phone, it's such a distraction. There are some apps that you probably have to use. Maybe it's for work or because of friends and you want to connect. Whatever, you're gonna have to use certain apps that you don't really want to use. So I decided to put all those apps, and you can do this as well actually, on a different profile. The good thing about Graphene is that on a different profile, all these apps are contained in that profile. They can't connect to anything else on my phone or run in the background or anything like that. That's what's great about Graphene, and that's why, to me, it felt like a good solution with all the apps that I don't want to use. But what this ended up doing was that, okay, now I need to use this app that I don't like to use. It feels intentional going there. I don't even see these apps when I use my phone on a regular basis. And it made it so that my phone starts feeling like it's serving me again, like an actual useful tool that it supposedly is, right?
So here's the interesting thing here. So obviously we've talked about fat electrician reactions. We've talked about capitalism, right? And how cool, you have a good idea, you make the good idea product, you sell the good product, and people will reward you for the good product. I think that in modernity, we have an issue, especially when it comes to licensing and stuff. It's the Mickey Mouse effect, right? Where, oh, well, we're just going to, you know, this thing that happened, you know, X amount of years ago that you still hold the copyright and rights to, you're still going to be able to benefit off that. And don't get me wrong, this is not saying that I inherently think copyright and protection like that should be outlawed or anything like that, right? I understand why things like that exist. I think it's symptomatic of the issue where people are just lazy, if that makes sense, right? Right? Like it more comes down to, well, we did this thing 20, 30, 50, 60, 100 years ago, and we're going to, you owe us for this, you know, because we are this company or because we have this IP. And it's not that there's a product being sold, right? Like the value proposition just isn't there. And I think that's interesting to bring up specifically because his phone is serving him now, right? He's able to take that control back and he's able to use it and not feel like it's using him, right? I think it's an interesting parallel to draw.
So yeah, huge fan. I'm so glad I swapped out. It's probably the best thing I did so far. But it gets better, okay? I had to ride this couple weeks, I tell you what. Is it 6 or 5? I don't...
6.
I lost count. Anyway, password managers. What do you mean password 123 isn't gonna cut it? I hate password managers. Why? Because they cost 67 pounds.
Yeah.
So it's a 5 kilobyte size document? I don't think so. There's whole videos of me just doxing myself for being cheap. It's not happening. I'm not paying that. I almost had a heart attack when I found out. I'm paying what? But you need a password manager. That's just the reality of today. I
In modernity, you do, especially if you're going to follow like cybersecurity. You're going to make sure to have strong passwords. Each of them is not going to overlap each other. Each of them will have uppercase, lowercase, alphanumeric, special symbols, right? Especially some websites don't allow for special symbols, certain special symbols at least. A password manager is one of those that makes those swaps good. So like password 123, right? Sure, you could have used it for the past 30 years, but if you, especially with how rampant identity theft and stuff is nowadays, as somebody who had my PayPal account broken into because for some reason my old number was still on it and someone was able to hack into it and get it, and they put their number in, and I had to go send my ID to PayPal and get that resolved at 6 a.m. despite them still requesting passwords. It was awful. I hated it, right? But every couple of months, right, you should be changing stuff realistically, to which the response becomes not necessarily that people are lazy, but that's a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you're going to forget. Hence why password managers are being able to store passwords in a way like this is kind of the logical conclusion.
Thought I was so smart. I was like, okay, fine. I don't need to do this. I'm running Linux. I downloaded a backup. I made it into an HTML, and then I encrypted it. And then I had an alias, so I unencrypt it when I need to use it, and then quickly encrypt it. Is it unencrypt or decrypt? It doesn't matter. Bada bing, bada boom, I saved myself 67 pounds. If I live for, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 years, that's like, I saved myself a lot of money. Multimillionaire is a cheap ass. .mp4, that's what I should call this. But then
I mean, to be fair, right, there's the sentiment that you give people who are bad with money, shocker when they just blow all the money on dumb things, right? Point in case, I blow my money on dumb things. Like, oh God, I bought so much Silent Hill stuff recently, trying to just make sure I have actual physical copies of the media. But then, you can have, people who are good with money, yeah, they're going to have more money. They're going to be like, well, I have bills, but approximately 45% of my paycheck goes into X, Y, and Z, and I'm set, right? Like, there is something to be said for people with discipline, right? That's why I think that there's that he's a millionaire, therefore he got that way, being scummy, etc. Dude could have just had a good venture capital idea, right? She could have absolutely just, done a number of different jobs and gained that discipline and ultimately saved up enough money to live comfortably, right? That's not every case. It's a possibility. I think assigning self-worth to somebody strictly with a number, as corpo billionaire shill as this is going to sound, that doesn't necessarily equate to them being a bad person. I think there is a too much money argument when we start talking about people like Bezos, Elon Musk, right? Some of their actions start to make sense, directly proportionate with their money, in my opinion. I think correlation being causation there is something to be said there. But that's subjective opinion. Like, formulate your own opinion on that. Just because someone's a millionaire, if anything, I try not to think about the fact that they have money. It's money. That's how people live, right? It's not necessarily the entirety of it. Now, the people that do make it their entirety, Scrooge McDuck status, that's another issue entirely.
I realized I need this file on other devices. I need it on my phone and my laptop, and what if I go abroad? And that's when I discovered Glorious SH! Self-hosting. I can just host this on another device.
It's happening.
I feel like ever since I did my Linux video, so many comments have been like, just wait until it discovers self-hosting. It's gonna be game over. And yet you were right, okay? I started off on a Raspberry Pi 5. This thing is relatively cheap. It's got Ethernet, it runs on low power, and it's powerful for its size. Can do more than enough for what I wanted to do. I found an open source alternative, which is Vault-Warden. You can host your own password manager, basically. The problem was, I have no clue what the heck I'm doing.
That's me. Like, I like his funny words. I don't know what any of that means.
What is a reverse proxy? What do you mean I can't just put my IP address in my browser and be done with it? The Vault-Warden is so secure that it wouldn't let me connect to it unless I set it up properly. Every time I thought I did it, I kept seeing the spinny circle, and I saw that circle for 2 goddamn days. But once it finally worked, magic. I have done it. I had saved myself 67 pounds. Tears running down my eyes. It was beautiful. My first successful self-host. My God.
Awesome.
No more subscriptions. No more syncing drama. Just my own secure vault. It felt like I was finally breaking out of the matrix for real. And the thing is, once you start understanding how this works, it's really not that bad. If anything, it became super fun because with compatibility layers like Docker, you can
Isn't that Arch Linux specifically?
so easily just pick and choose what open source software you want to download, keep trying out different ones. The world is your oyster. Just pluck them from the trees and everything just works. So I needed a note-taking app. I found one called Yoplin. That's how you say that, Yoplin. It had a desktop app and a phone app, which is exactly what I wanted. But when I installed Yoplin, this is where things got weird.
Okay.
Do not judge me here, okay? This is... You can probably relate to this, actually. Have you ever been so lazy that you try and find another alternative, but then that leads you on a road that was 10 times more complicated than just not being lazy?
Yep.
The image that I was trying to install on my Pi was not compatible. It was 86 by 64. This is ARM-based structure. It doesn't matter. Not compatible. I can just find another one. But I thought, hey, why don't I just quickly install this on something that does run 86 by 64? And I look around and I'm like, oh. Well. My Steam Deck runs 86 by 64.
Okay.
So you may be asking, Felix, did you use your portable handheld gaming console to host your note-taking app? Yes, but it gets worse, actually.
I mean, it's a portable PC for all intents and purposes. You can boot it out of gaming mode and into desktop mode.
Steam runs Linux. Beautiful. It actually runs Arch, which is the distro I use on my desktop. Match.
If I understand it correctly, Arch Linux is one of the more complex, if not the most complex, like mainline Linux variant. Linux is interesting. I know Mudahar's put out a few videos on it. I haven't personally made the switch yet. I honestly should, because as far as I'm aware, it would actually teach and reinforce coding concepts.
Made in heaven. But I thought to myself, well, it's filled with all this like Steam bloat. I should probably uninstall Arch so I can then install Arch.
Amazing.
I don't know what's wrong with me. Don't ask. And I did this, of course, just so I wouldn't have to find another image of my note-taking app. But anyway,
Cool.
It works. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. Now, I got my notes app running beautifully. Number 7 or 8. It was time to say goodbye, Google Drive. Goodbye, Jotaro. $20 for 100 gig? I don't think so. I'm not gonna pay you to hold my data hostage forever. Not happening. What if I live for another 600 years? Think about how much money that's gonna be to Google. No more subscriptions. Redundant subscriptions. Instead of Google Drive, I set up File Browser. The thing that bothers me about all these free online storages that gives you a certain amount at least is that, first of all, it's not safe. Second of all, I don't know what they're doing with that. Thirdly, I hate how it's used. I don't know if you can relate to this. Maybe it's just like a me problem, but let's say I've gone outside, I've touched grass, I've taken all these photos and videos, and then I sit down in front of my computer, and then all of a sudden internet goes down, and I'm like, what happened? And then it's like, oh yeah, my Google Drive decided to back up every single photo and video I've ever taken. And it's like, I don't want that. I want certain images. Let me pick those first. And I don't want you to suck up my entire bandwidth. With File Browser, I can throttle the speed and I can do it when I want to, which files I want to. I went a little nerdy and overboard, surprise. And I wrote a bunch of aliases and shell functions so that I can define push or pull to download or upload, which device, my phone, laptop, desktop, deck, and which subfolder. And I do all this with glorious SSH. It actually solved another problem for me, which is always sharing files between my phone and my desktop. I never know how to do it. Apparently, I didn't know this. I feel like everyone is tuning out because I'm talking about SSH again. But you can run it on your phone. Look, I'm connected. And then I thought, fuck, and now I gotta do an opposite script on my phone. But then I realized I can just connect to my desktop to run the script. It doesn't matter, okay? It's cool. Just trust me, it's cool.
So here's the thing. At its core, going with Google, while you do sacrifice your privacy, obviously, you are effectively doing so as payment for the convenience, right? This illustrates that you can do all these things using things like your Steam Deck, using things like this that was the Raspberry Pi, being able to find alternate keyboards and stuff like that, right? Self-hosting, right? Like, you can do all of this, and for all intents and purposes, I'm sure there's plenty of guides out there on it. However, it comes down to a factor of convenience. I think to your average person, they're just not interested. They would like the benefits of it, but it's not quite streamlined. And even if it is streamlined to the point where anyone can do it, here Linux is to the point where anyone can really do Linux at this point, especially some of the plug and play versions that are out there now. The fact of the matter is that it will still be too much effort for a lot of people. So our information is effectively currency for convenience.
Number 9. AI. We have to talk about AI. I don't know about you, but I don't like using AI. It feels like I'm kneeling directly to the tech overlords. And not to mention the goddamn subscription fees.
I have literally never used ChatGPT, OpenAI, any of those language models. I've never used them. And will continue to not use them. The only thing I have ever used AI for is like if I took a screenshot of the screen, I made a funny face, right? And throw it into like a remove background AI to get like a low quality image with the transparent background, which you can realistically do in Photoshop or Canva. I don't know how to do either personally. And I don't even do it for, I haven't done it in a hot minute. That is the only thing I've ever used quote unquote AI for, is to make a PNG transparent. Actually, like PNG with a checker background or like a JPEG, to make something transparent from it. That is I say this as a fully transparent thing. That is the extent I've done. I've messed with a single program, no, 2 programs once upon a time for image generation. And I'm just like, this is dumb. I've dropped them. I uninstalled them. Like, it's just, there's something different about making something yourself, whether that's a video, whether that's a piece of art, whether that's a paper, right? Like college level paper, like presentation piece. Like it's just, I refuse to do anything more than I've already done. And I especially refuse to go do anything with these language models and stuff, because if anything, sure, sometimes it sucks to have to sift through Reddit threads and like GameFAQs threads, right? But sometimes, at least I still retain the ability to do that and try to sift through information, rather than plugging, something into a ChatGPT model and getting a response that it hallucinated, saying something about, cook chicken to 135 and have Goku help you cook it, right? Which we've gone over was an actual response someone was able to elicit from it to make the AI hallucinate. I refused to go into the sphere. I refuse.
I feel like I'm spoon feeding the machine that has stolen all my data, more of my data. Here you go. Nice and fat. Here you go. Not happening. But I got curious and, I built my own computer not long ago and I spent a lot of money on it. Why don't you just see if I can run it myself? It's a beast. So I set up a local language model called Mixtral. Emphasis on local, which means it runs on my computer completely offline. It's beautiful. Now I can search whatever I want. And I can ask it dumb questions like, why is my left toe bigger than my right toe? And no one knows about it.
I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with this.
Not Google. Not AI overlords, not even you.
Call it a subjective opinion, subjective disagreement, right? Not something that necessarily vilifies them, but it's like, nah, I think that there's some things that I would much rather do myself.
Step 10. How many steps are there? And we have so much left. PDFs, Google Docs, calendar, contacts. I was honestly getting a little tired at this point to try and find an alternative to all of these, but that's when I discovered Nextcloud. It's an open source self-host beast, and it does all of this for you. Maybe there are better singular alternatives, but the fact that I can get all of this baked in one was exactly what I needed, and just one quick install and it was done. I was completely out of Google, and it felt amazing. Finally, I'm free. From here on is when I needed to tighten things up a little bit. I actually bought a domain. I know, I paid a subscription fee. But it's worth it. If you're self-hosting, it's actually worth it because you can get a domain for $5 a year. It means I can get better security features and I can put all these services in subdomains. So like docs.mysubdomain.com and password.mysubdomain.com, like all these different things I made, I can access easily. I don't have to type my IP address for each one. And I started to tighten down the security as well, especially because I was looking online. I'm like, I'm getting a lot of bots that are pinging me. I don't like this.
Yeah.
Everything is locked in with the password already, but I added another layer of zero trust, so you can't access anything unless you have another login. I locked in my IP address with Tailscale. Beautiful Tailscale. I could make a whole video. I had a fail to ban. It was definitely worth spending some time locking things down. And I think I found a good balance of it being secure, but also not like a huge hassle every time you want to access either. Now, swapping out all these Google services, there's one that I just can't escape. And I don't mean YouTube.
Okay.
There's one that sucked the most to get rid of. And that was actually
I was going to say AdSense, but I guess that's technically tied to YouTube.
Google Maps. Because Google tracks you so well, it is so good at predicting traffic. And since I drive a lot in Tokyo, I really rely on that to get to places on time. You can't be late in Japan. It's like a death sentence.
Right.
The first time I used my open source alternative, I ended up 30 minutes late. And that's what
Well, so that's the thing. Like culturally, what is it? If you're late to work, and the issues, the train itself, if the train is running late, the train will issue you something saying that it was late. Like, you have to look at this, like he's saying, through the context of in Japan. You have to look through it from the lens of Japanese society. Being punctual is important.
I realized, hey, maybe Big Brother tracking everything isn't so bad. Maybe surveillance has its perks. But I stuck to my de-googling, and the best alternative I found was just using my car's GPS. It has all this Japanese services built in anyway. I ended up using my Pi to replace my Google TV, and I'm running Kodi on that. I haven't really fully set it up yet, so not much to say about it. And
Things like that sound amazing, actually.
you may remember I'm doing all of this on my Steam Deck. I added an extension so I can plug it into Ethernet. That way it runs on less power. It runs completely headless, and I can monitor all of it on my safe network system that I have. But then I thought it'd be kind of cool to use the display, so I can use that for monitoring. I ran Tmux and BTOP on it, and it looks so cool. You know, this all started because I wanted to de-Google and try what that was like. And by the end of it, my Steam Deck looks like it's a detonator for a bomb or something like that. And before you ask, yes, I can still game on it, all right? It runs 2% of my CPU. It's like this weird home lab abomination at this point, but I love it. I love looking at it. I got it sitting next on my desk. It's just a vibe, man. Every time I see it, I'm happy. Another fact that I like using my Steam Deck is the fact that I can just use whatever I have around me. People have these like super sick home lab setups, which are awesome. I get it, but my point with this is that if you wanted to de-Google, you can use whatever you have at your disposal. It shouldn't cost you any extra money. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that Steam Deck is the ultimate self-host device. You're probably better off using a Pi, but maybe you have some device laying around at home that you can run Linux on. Bring it back to life, you know? Instead of throwing it away, and I hate to be that guy, but it's better for the environment. Yes, it's a lot of tinkering, but you learn a lot, and by the end of it, it's done. Like, I don't have to touch it. Google's mantra is don't be evil, but I still think they have a lot to do to qualify for that title. I feel like on your phone you have all these settings with privacy and give permissions and all these things that they ask you. But it kind of feels like one of those toys that Björn has that it's just like a bunch of buttons that doesn't actually do anything. Right. Unless you go all the way with privacy, it doesn't mean anything.
But even if you go all the way with privacy, then you have features suddenly that get revoked or don't have access to features. Well, you have cookies turned off, therefore we're not able to advertise to you successfully. Thus, the retort is, well, why wouldn't you go all the way? Why would you choose anything other than what we recommend you, right? The option, it almost feels like an illusion of choice.
Don't call it privacy. And for me, it's not even necessarily about Google. I think it's more about big tech in general. I hate where software is going. Unnecessary subscriptions, ads, locking, updates changing the entire UI because you're more prone somehow to get more locked in. With YouTube, you know, it's been constantly changing for years and years and years just because they figured this is the best way to suck you in. If I host my own apps, there's none of that. So now I got my own home lab abomination and I love it. I'm finally free from the tech overlords. It was 100% worth it. And look, bro, I made you one too.
Nice. Take my Hershey's Kisses.
You've earned it. Here you go, bro.
I love it. What a follow through.
This video is sponsored by Saley. I am a huge fan of Saily because it genuinely makes traveling for us so much easier. This time when we were on our way to Savannah, Marty asked me about it and we literally set it up on the flight because it had internet. For those of you who don't know, Saily is an eSIM app, which means electronic SIM. So if you're traveling almost anywhere in the world, over 60 countries, you get access to internet through this app. Marty said just open the app, pick the country, picked how much data she needed, and of course, use code PewDiePie, which gave her a 15% discount. And bada bing, bada boom, instant internet as soon as you land, which is what I want. The first thing I want when I land is internet. I genuinely hate standing in line when I land renting a Wi-Fi box. How is that a good solution? You just have to carry another thing when you're traveling that also have to worry about being charged. Or if you opt to just buy a physical SIM while you're there, you still have to go and actually find where to buy it, set it all up while you're there, and you have to worry about losing your original SIM. At least I do. It's kind of important. I don't like removing it. Saily just solves all the problems. It's an amazing service and I highly recommend it. You can use the QR code to download it or use the code PewDiePie at checkout for 15% discount. If you're planning a trip anywhere, you can download it right away, set it up all now, and don't even have to think about it. You need internet when you travel, so I just love that it removes that stressful element to me. So thank you, Saily, for being an amazing sponsor, and you guys are welcome.
I'd give that one an 8. I think the audio was more consistent. This was clearly in a studio or his office rather than being out in an untreated room. Through the audio quality alone, even though the ad did feel a little long, it was one at the outro, which I do respect, and I will sit through those, absolutely. I would give that an 8. I thought it was really good. And at the end of the day, I thought this was a great video. I know people are going to have opinions on PewDiePie one way or the other. I personally don't really have any skin in the game. I don't know enough about... I thought this was a good video. I thought this was cool. I thought this was at the very least a good insight into alternatives, and huge fan of just making information publicly accessible to people, which, you know, we should have information that is publicly accessible to people, right? Knowing that there's options, and clearly these options are legal, right? It's not that they're off the table or illegal. Sure, it might be a little hard for some people to set this up, and there's going to be a learning curve, but this is an option that I feel needs to get signal boosted, and I think this was the right call. This was a good video. But thank you everyone for watching. I really do appreciate it. I had a lot of fun with this. Hopefully you did as well. Hopefully you learned a thing. Let me know what your experience with Linux is, especially Arch Linux, because I've heard good things about it, but I've heard it's got its learning curve. It takes a little bit of skill to use. And I'll see you in the next one.